HMS Queen Elizabeth, Britain's biggest warship, is in the West Atlantic on a top-secret 4-month deployment.
Set both levers astern, 40.
Set both levers astern, 40.
Fuel 123 positive.
After 5 weeks at sea, they landed the state-of-the-art F35b Lightning Stealth fighter for the first time.
It's a fantastic aircraft. This is a really crucial milestone of getting us to understanding the marriage of the ship, the carrier, with this aircraft, because both have been built for each other.
The next critical phase is to see how the F-35 jet operates off a rolling, pitching, wind-blown flight deck. The test pilots will have to fly it by day and night, and in all weathers, even confronting a full-blown hurricane.
As a test pilot, everything's out to kill you. The ship is out to kill you, the aircraft is out to kill you, the ocean is out to kill you.
This is the first time that it's been tested in anger on a flight deck, and it's a fantastic sight.
If you're on the wrong side of that, God help you.
The next month at sea will push the ship's company to their limits. And it's far from plain sailing.
Marine Engineer Alexander Davies, do you admit or deny the charge?
Steer course 190, speed 12 knots, other units as necessary to maintain station.
Yeoman Navigator, flag Foxtrot, port outer yardarm, hoist.
Provisional taxi instructions, taxi BF5.
It's beautiful, isn't it? To actually see it in the flesh, it's something else like. It's like something from the future, innit? We're in the Atlantic Ocean, flying F-35s off the deck of Britain's new aircraft carrier. Like, my mates back home will probably be in the pub now, watching the footy or whatever. But look where I am. Lovely day, glorious sunshine, so it doesn't get better than this.
HMS Queen Elizabeth, along with her escort HMS Monmouth, serving as her bodyguard, are on the eastern seaboard of the United States. And their main mission is to test 2 top-secret F-35 Lightning jets. The new frontline fighter that the Queen Elizabeth was built for. But they have never been tested together until now. And that's the job of test pilots like Andy Edgell of the Royal Air Force.
There's no way that we can just give this aircraft to the regular frontline forces to use without our assurance that it is safe for them to do so. And right now, we don't even know what's safe. That's why we're here. We're here to figure out just how far you can push it with respect to how much the deck is moving, how strong the winds are, before you reach the limit of the aircraft, or the limit of the pilot, or the limit of the ship, or, most importantly, the limit of the whole system. And we never know which one we're going to reach first.
After making approach 3 spot.
Above all, they have to find out just how well the aircraft operates in the often difficult wind and weather conditions found at sea, especially when launching and landing.
Feels like it wants to drag me a little low.
Right below?
Yep, agree, and a little bit low. Coming.
With the aircraft married up to HMS Queen Elizabeth, in that we have a true strategic asset. They have to be melded together for it to be a strategic asset. But with that, there's nowhere in the world we can't go, and there's nothing we can't do.
And the green flag is D10.
Well, it's very different on here.
Jerry Kidd commanded Britain's last aircraft carrier, axed nearly 10 years ago because of government cuts. He's convinced that the Queen Elizabeth will be a new dawn for the Royal Navy.
If you want to assure security and safety of the nation state and also our interests around the world, you have to have the kit, you have to have the training, and you have to have the people. And this is a very physical embodiment of that intent to be a globally facing country in the post-Brexit world. And we've got to be strong. If you're not strong, you get kicked around in life. Simple as that. If you want to be a country that's kicked around, well, I don't want to be part of that. We're an island nation, and the threats are increasing as ever, and that's evidenced, by the activity of Russia, the growing China, and all the other pressures coming on around the world. So we have to remain strong, because if we don't, then we sort of failed, haven't we?
Stand by to take it from me, the director, the recovery director. Stand by to take it off me.
These men are also learning about the F-35 for the first time. They are the aircraft handlers, who have the dangerous job of guiding the aircraft around the deck. It's noisy work too, and they do it with a language all of their own.
Well, because we don't have direct communications with the pilots of the aircraft, we have to rely on hand signals, and something can change in an instant. So you've got to think on your feet. It gives the lads a lot more to think about and a lot more to do. When he's taxiing forward, we'll off brakes, and then we'll bring him forward. If we need to put any turns on, so if we need him to go left or right, we have to go to bring him left, and then the opposite way to bring him right.
Aircraft handling is extremely hazardous, but surprisingly elegant and precise. Disciplined, almost dance-like. The aircraft handlers in yellow are Royal Navy.
So the jet took off from the 350 point.
The ones in white are civilian scientists responsible for the flight deck.
Is there a particular reason why the RERAD is on?
The ones in green are also civilian, American maintainers from the Integrated Test Force.
Yeah, get him airborne, and then there'll be 2 recoveries to Portsmouth.
The ITF is a specialist organisation set up to deliver the F-35 for operations.
The slick skin really makes it very futuristic. I've been doing this maintenance for 31 years now, and this is the first jet I really feel like they got it right. Yeah, the maintenance is very particular, but if you do it right, the jet lasts a really long time and it flies amazingly well.
ITF technicians and scientists monitor every landing and launch.
Landing 65 airborne. Good rate of climb. Right pedal, right pedal.
They track and measure everything, right down to the pilot's breathing rate.
Relax at flight stations, relax at flight stations. The flight deck is at 30 minutes notice. The flight deck remains outbound. What are we doing now?
But getting these F-35 airborne is not just down to the 100 or so people working above deck. Another 1,400 below are playing their part too. Every job they do ultimately contributes to getting those F-35 airborne. From laundrymen to the cooks in the galleys, below deck is a vibrant community hosting some 23 nationalities. For Glenn Peters, the captain's personal steward, the Queen Elizabeth has become a home from home.
Take away that one for me. We all from different class, different race, but being on board, it's not like that. We all look out for each other. We all are brother's keeper. Because at the end of the day, we're out in the middle of wherever and something happens. We're the only one we could call on. So we all do get along. We gel properly, yes.
So where are you actually from then?
I'm originally from St. Vincent, which is located in the Eastern Caribbean. Coincidentally, that's my first ever deployment back to the Caribbean.
Right.
So it was just absolutely perfect. We went home and everyone was like so proud of me. Like, this little boy from back in the hood, he's making something of himself. And from then on, it's just been doing what I love, making the most of every opportunity that comes.
But you're a committed Rastafarian.
Yeah, I am. Very much, yeah. Yes, Celestia, blessed love, earth rightful ruler. I am.
Yeah. And so when you're ashore, you can let your hair down, literally?
Yes, I can. But because we're in uniform, it's got to be the same standards as the females. So it's got to be neatly tied, plaited, and then in a bun in the back. Yeah. But when we're alongside, you can just lose it out and just be a Rasta. Yeah.
The ship's company is highly disciplined, and because it's on the high seas, has to be self-regulating and self-policing. Marine engineer Alex Davis is in trouble. Following the last port visit in Florida, the 21-year-old went missing. So he's about to be called to the table. This system of trial has been practiced in the Royal Navy for over 500 years.
He's been accused of being absent without leave, AWOL, for in excess of 9 hours. And also he was that intoxicated when he got back, we had to put a watch on him to make sure he didn't sort of choke on his own vomit and die. So, let's see what happens. Lean reg.
HMS Davis. Salute. Off, cut.
You are charged as following. Absent without leave, contrary to Section 9, brackets 1 of the Armed Forces Act 2006. Negligently absent without leave from 0745 until 15:58 hours, namely 8 hours, 13 minutes. Do you admit or deny the charge?
Admit, sir.
When you came back on board, you were still under the influence of alcohol, to the extent that you had to have a watch put on you for your own personal safety. Chief Petty Officer Carr, please.
Sir, E.T. Davis works in the DG section on board at the moment, which I've been assured by his section head he is extremely keen, proactive and an asset to the section. However, in the cold light of day, he is extremely embarrassed of his actions and because of this accepts any punishment awarded.
Roger. Thank you, Chief.
At least Alex Davis did not fall foul of the law when ashore, but 4 other sailors did, for being drunk and disorderly, fighting and resisting arrest. They made headlines on both sides of the Atlantic.
I only know what I read in the press. What I would say is our technology has advanced in leaps and bounds, but the one thing that keeps us true are people. You know, that's what's made Britain great. I wouldn't want our people to change. But ultimately, having people within the Royal Navy who want to push the limits, because by pushing the limits, we win, may occasionally overstep that line. But I wouldn't want to dampen down that fire in their belly. I'd still want to keep that spirit.
You had that fire in your belly?
Yes. Yes. We've all overstepped that line. We have. And we've all been punished for it. And it's all about being able to tame the fire in your belly, but it has to still be there. It's got to be there.
Do you have an issue with alcohol?
I don't, sir.
If you think you do, okay, we can help you. We can support you. But what I would suggest, shipmate, is if and when you get ashore in New York, you lay off the sauce, yeah, and behave yourself and get back on board on time. HMS Davis, I find the charge proven. I award you 10 days stoppage of leave and restriction of privilege to commence today. You've got to learn that when it says leave expires at 0745, it means leave expires at 0745. The hearing is now concluded.
Alex Davis, facing stoppage of leave on the next port visit and extra cleaning duties on board, goes straight back to work.
Take my punishment, get out of the way and abide by the rules next time. This is the time I've got to change and, you know, not go to that table again.
And what could happen if you did go to the table again?
Probably be more looking at like a discharge, probably a captain's table, a lot more serious. So yeah, it's time for me to sort of get my head down and change for the better.
Hands to flying stations, hands to flying stations. No gashes to be ditched.
No unauthorised person to be on or near the flight deck.
It's 4 days into flight trials, and most of the ship's company below deck have no idea about what's happening above their heads. But Glenn, the captain's steward, is an exception.
She's getting ready to launch. They're just unlashing her.
The captain's day cabin overlooks the flight deck.
From my personal perspective, it's the best view in the house. Because you can see everything and no one to disturb or distract you. Or you're not in anyone's way. All to myself, yeah. Perks of the job. That's why everyone wants to be captain soon, because look at this. Yeah, she's turning. See? Just pass it over from one to the other. So he's got control, and he's going to pass it to the next one there. Okay, you want to drop the green flag. There goes, there goes. And there she goes. No matter how many times you see it, it always seems like the first. It's just absolutely amazing watching them leave.
The F-35 is as powerful as it is smart. Crammed full of technology, it's a flying computer with a high degree of artificial intelligence. During combat, it will do a lot of the flying for the pilot, releasing him to concentrate on the fighting. But then at $100 million a throw, you'd expect something a little bit special.
I think if you look at her, you straight away realise that she's pretty, right? She's a beautiful aircraft. And there's one thing that I learned going through test pilot school, and that's if she looks ugly, she flies ugly. It doesn't take a genius, you don't need to be a test pilot. You can look at this and you realise it's a stealthy aircraft. The angles on every single part of this aircraft just demonstrates that the enemy's radar cannot see this aircraft. The way I like to explain it is, it's a bit like standing in front of a wall with a football, and you kick the ball against the wall and it comes back to you. You now know there's a wall in front of you, correct? So if the wall's further away and you kick the ball, it takes a little bit longer to get to you. So that allows you to figure out using a radar how far away an object is. So that's exactly what a radar does. It sends out a pulse and it waits for it to bounce off something. If you were to stand at an angle to the wall and kick the ball, it wouldn't come back to you. So that's why when you look at this aircraft, there are so many angles on it. It's so that the enemy's radar, if it fires out a pulse, bounces off in a random direction, and you ultimately are now invisible. And you see it in every single aspect of this aircraft, which is phenomenal.
Of course, the other thing that makes this aircraft so special is the way it can hover, like a bird of prey. Except that at over 14 tons in weight, it needs a lot more power to stay aloft.
If you look just above the inlet there, and that's what we call the upper lift fan door, that opens, which some people, including myself, refer to as the toilet seat. That allows a load of air to now get sucked in, and it comes straight through the aircraft, comes straight through, and then exits down here in a column of air. We balance it with this back here. So at the moment, you can see that all of the thrust, another 20,000 pounds of thrust, is coming out backwards. But when we get into the hover, this whole system rotates down. So now you've got a column of thrust going down at the back, and it's nicely balanced, and that's what keeps it in the hover nice and stable.
After a week, the pilots have made about 30 launches and landings, but in fairly benign conditions, with wind speeds no greater than 20 knots. It's now time to ramp things up, and it's down to Jerry Kidd to find stronger winds to push the aircraft to the next stage.
But sometimes, Captain, you just like to feel the wind in your face.
You do, you want to come up here and just remind yourself what it's like, because I can feel the spray and the salt now. When you're on the bridge behind that glass, you sort of forget sometimes what it's like for the deck crews. Here we are, about 40 knots wind, I suppose, across the deck. Pretty much what we want to generate for the jets and the helicopters up here to create that wind so they can take off with more fuel and more weaponry. So it's good just to come up here every once in a while. Just remind oneself what it's like. Am I going back now?
The captain can sail the ship into prevailing winds and generate more by accelerating through the water. Generally, the stronger the winds, the better, to give aircraft lift. But it's not as simple as that for the pilots.
You can have all the amazing computing that goes into the F-35. You can't get away from physics. Wind is still wind. Gravity is still gravity. This much wind, that's headwind, so headwind here. This much wind, it's all okay. It's all okay. Now it starts getting a little bit tough. We're getting blown across like that. There's all the wind coming from the side. What happens when there's a tailwind? What does that do for a takeoff and for a landing? Say I want to land at 3 spots between those 2 islands. Now, if the wind is from this direction, what's going to happen is that that wind is now going to squeeze in between these islands. This wind now starts to accelerate, and you're going to get a load of vortices, turbulence, and now you find that just sitting in the hover here, the jet and you're working hard. You can feel it bouncing you around. And then by the time you come down and land, you are less precise. You're not quite on the center line. You're not quite on your athwartship, the line going across the ship. Bum line, we call it, because you stick your bum on the line. Is it too dangerous? Is it too much? Should we do it at night? Should we let a brand new 20-year-old pilot do it? There's so many things to test at every single spot with every single wind angle. There's just, everything's a variable.
It has to be baby steps for the pilots, incrementally pushing the jets a little bit harder every day, and always ready for the unexpected.
Every single thing that we do, we have to be methodical. We have to, you know, by our very nature, we're very critical. We've got very critical bones in our body. We look at every single pedantic detail to make sure that we've got everything in order before we go and do something that's brand new, something that's never been done before. If there's something to be discovered, we want to discover it. We don't want the fleets, the front line guys to discover it. If there's an edge, if there's a dragon out there, our intent is to go and find it.
And dragons come in all shapes and sizes. Birds are a natural enemy for any aircraft, and they are currently flocking to the Queen Elizabeth, an ideal ocean perch.
Fly through, come around, and VL, winds red 525 to 4 spot.
Coming into land, Nathan Gray is about to realise he has unwelcome company.
And bringing it down to 100 feet, slowing the rate of decel, looking good, small lateral input, controlling a lot of birds around today. I've got birds on the left-hand side.
Copy, in your go VL.
Paddles landing 6-5, just be aware there's a lot of bird activity this afternoon.
Paddle.
Okay, bringing it into the hover.
And sure enough, one of these little birds comes far too close for comfort.
Oh, bird down the left side.
And faster than the eye can see, it's ingested right into the intake fan. The aircraft has been instantly compromised. Something soft, fluffy, and weighing less than an ounce brings the mighty F-35 to its knees.
A tiny little bit could absolutely do damage. It doesn't take much sometimes to damage an aircraft. To check the engine, they put somebody in the intake to crawl up and see the front end of the engine, just to make sure there's been no damage to it.
Spin the blades and make sure they're good for you, sir.
The F-35 will not fly again until it's fully checked. The bird would have been instantly vaporised, and the intake fan shows no sign of immediate damage. But nobody is taking any chances with a $100 million aircraft.
The bird went down the lift fan, so it's important that we check this aircraft out, run the engine and the lift fan up to full power to make sure there's no damage.
The F-35 is okay this time. But the birds keep coming, and they're getting bigger.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Carl speaking.
Some of you noticed on the upper deck that there seem to be quite a lot of birds around at the moment.
But it's just a reminder that these are quite dangerous in the aircraft, as you can expect.
In actual fact, one of them today was sucked into the
intakes of the engine. You see it in the ground, do drive them off. But most importantly, please do not feed them.
A bugler informs the officers that dinner is ready. And according to tradition, he gets a glass of port for his pains that must be downed in one. This sort of communal and semi-formal gathering only happens every once in a while. A reward for hard work, but also a chance for the officers to bond as shipmates.
For those of you that haven't experienced this event before, Saturday Night at Sea is a traditional carrier event for the wardroom. The format for the evening will be doing grace, we will eat, and at the end we will passport to toast Her Majesty the Queen.
One man not able to relax tonight is Alex Davis. The sailor under punishment has been given extra duties.
What have you had to do tonight?
Scrub the rust off the flats and mop it all up. So yeah, we're doing this the next sort of half an hour or so.
Big old ship to clean up.
Yeah, it's a big old ship, yeah. Don't want to be getting punished too many times on here.
How much longer have you got of this punishment?
Another 5 or 6 days.
Also on his own tonight is Jerry Kidd. As captain, he's on call 24 hours a day, so can never move too far from the bridge.
Captain, sir. Dinner served.
And it's Glenn Peters' job as his steward to look after him.
Apologies, Captain, sir. You were fresh out of caviar. So I've got you a duck liver
What is
patty.
it? Duck egg pate?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to the caviar.
Apologies, sir.
Is there a lobster thermidor?
Yes, sir. That's coming up, Diary.
Thanks, Glenn.
You're very welcome.
Because the captain eats alone, doesn't he?
He does on most occasions. Ever so often, he'll invite someone from down below, which is about once per week. And we're happy like this, just him and I. We're quite happy like this. Because we both the same. We tend to like our own company most of the time. Yeah. So it just works out good for us.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's tradition in the Royal Navy. The captain eats on his or her own. And the last thing I think my officers want is me, knackered old captain, arriving grumpy in their mess, and then they can't relax.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen.
The Queen. And also, if I went down the wardroom now, you have to make an effort with the junior officers. And quite frankly, it's a tiring enough job. The hour I have on dinner on my own up here is actually quite nice.
All personnel not involved in aviation, clear off the flight deck now.
2 weeks in, and after nearly 60 flights, many test points have been completed, with wind speeds up to 40 knots.
How's good? Pass. Ready. Wing, sir, F2. Jets repeat, permission to launch the jet. Launch the jet.
It's time to up the ante yet again. Flying will now be done around the clock. This is to test the F-35's ability to see at night through its array of secret sensors.
Ultimately, we want this jet to be going across the beach at night, dropping weapons in an act of war, coming back to the deck at, say, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's dark, it's a rough sea, it's nasty weather. We need a jet that's designed to make that job easy for a pilot that might have been airborne for 8 hours in a high-stress environment, coming back to a ship in the middle of the ocean at night. So this is why we're testing, to be able to ensure that we've got that level of capability.
After 3 weeks, nearly 80 launches and landings have taken place. Scientists are still keeping a close eye on the flight deck, which has been taking quite a bashing.
You've got the entire weight of that jet that's just landed onto the deck. And on top of that, the nozzle is giving out hundreds of degrees of heat because it's much hotter than previous jets we've operated.
A unique coating to protect the flight deck has been especially developed for the Queen Elizabeth.
This is a thermal metal spray coating, aluminium titanium specifically, and that molten metal is then sprayed onto the flight deck. What we're actually seeing is that hundreds of degrees of heat is dissipating to less than 100 degrees, which is a good sign, which shows that the coating and the deck is doing a good job of dissipating all of that heat.
You just saved yourself £5 though.
Meanwhile, the youngest air handler on board has been given an important task.
They're all the eyes like little, they're like tubes about that long.
Is that one
like
from
tubes.
the Monmouth?
He's been ordered to locate some vital components as soon as possible, even though he's never heard of them before.
It's Naval Air Marshal from the flight deck here. I'm just inquiring, have you got any fallopian tubes lying around us all? Fallopian tubes? No, for windscreen wipers. Right, warfare, yeah? Right, bye. Right, let's head to ring the warfare department.
Warfare?
Go downstairs and find that and go have a look.
It's in a bit, mate.
For the windscreen wipers around the ship, we need fallopian tubes. So I've just been tasked to go get some more.
They've sent them round the ship asking everyone for fallopian tubes. So I've given them a NATO stock number, NSN, ID, IOT, idiot. I'm going to look stupid, aren't I, if he comes back with fallopian tubes?
Fallopian tubes? Actually, has got an NSN number. Yeah, I need 10 of them because it's one for each 5-way window. No. Roger. Nice. Cheers, boys. Doesn't help running around the ship with sweating. Fallopian tubes.
So you're sending him to women to ask for fallopian tubes?
Yeah, I've sent it to Warrant Officer Scrivener.
Scouts phone call reference fallopian tubes.
Warrant Officer Scrivener is the most senior female NCO on board.
Hello, Mom. We need some tubes for Flyco. We asked him to get the tubes, and he was like, "What the tubes called?" And someone just said fallopian, and before we could stop him, he was off. Went down to combat ops and asked Warrant Officer Scrivener for fallopian tubes. She said, "I've only got 2, and I need them." And he said, "I think Flyco need them first, Mom." Cheers, bye.
Was she alright?
Yeah, she was laughing about it.
Alright, that's it. No, you sent me on a wild goose chase. This is that show, mate.
That's how the fallopian tube is.
What is a fallopian tube?
Well, someone have to tell me first. Drops the egg from the ovaries, doesn't it? Goes through the tube, into the womb. Yes, that's a fallopian tube. Every day's a school day.
Yeah, every day is a school day.
Well, it keeps it going, doesn't it? That's all we've got, morale.
So, Turbo, what's it like being on a British warship?
You know, I've actually been pretty amazed because even the guy who's polishing the silverware in the dining hall, he seems happy. Everybody's been so friendly. Everybody's been so happy. It's made working here a lot of fun. It really has. I don't think I could have asked for a nicer place to do the work.
And you got used to the accent.
The accent is a little difficult sometimes. I'm always asking people to repeat themselves. I get about half the first time and I get the other half the second time. So it works out.
The most expensive fighter jet in the world needs a lot of looking after. And on the bird front, even nature is lending a hand now. Rather like the ship, starting to police itself.
That sort of falcon, we've seen him, he caught one of the little sparrow-type sized birds before, and he was munching on that down the back end. He's munching on all the smaller ones and keeping the sort of population down. But obviously we don't want him going down an intake either.
The Falcon that's been with us for about 2.5 weeks now, he's fantastic. I mean, he's the perfection of flight. I mean, that really is the development of nature just there. But what he's been brilliant at, he's going out and catching all the little songbirds we've got and keeping them away from the aircraft, both the helicopters and the jets. He's marvellous, but he's a beautiful looking bird as well.
Have you got a rank yet?
Not yet, no, but he's certainly gained his carrier qualification, that's for sure. But his hover alongside 3-spot yesterday was exceptional whilst eating a bird.
The pilots are now spending around 5 hours at a time in the cockpit, which begs a question.
What happens if you want to have a pee?
I don't know what. Well, we have bags. We have a special bag with a sponge in it that you could use. It makes it particularly difficult, though, if you're strapped into an ejection seat. I've never used one, not even on really long missions. I've never needed it. There are a few fast jet pilots who I know who can't hold it in. Even for the first 5 minutes of taxiing out to the runway, they have to use a bag. But I've never used one. It's 5 hours is fine, absolutely fine.
The flight trials continue unabated. As usual, Jerry Kidd is on the bridge overseeing all that happens. And just under the bridge, Glenn Peters works tirelessly in support of him.
Do you enjoy ironing, Glenn?
Yes, I do. It's very therapeutic and soothing. So after you've got a little bit of stress, which we all do, and then you just start your ironing, and then they put you back into your happy place.
And is that something you've always had? Is it something that you just
Yes.
in the Navy?
No, it's something that I've always had. Because when you do something back home, you've got to do it to the highest of standard. Otherwise, your mom is going to have you doing it over and over until she's happy with the way that it is.
All right. So your mum trained you?
Oh, my God. Yeah, she did.
Were you a bit of a tearaway back then?
Yeah, I was. Not anymore. I've matured. The Navy has matured me now. And who knows, the way that I was going back in the day before the Navy, if I was not in the Navy, I might not have been here by now, for now. I might have been dead already.
Yeah, really?
So, really.
Which way do you think you might have gone if it had been...
Down the wrong road.
Down the wrong road?
Yeah.
Which road would that have been?
Death and destruction road.
Death and destruction?
Yeah. I didn't care about anything. Once some guys were sitting on the block, and because we're strangers to the area, they came rushing up to us. Then my brother had a knife. And all I remember saying is, pass the knife to me. And then, one the guy ended up in the hospital. He's got a stab wound to his chest, his back, and his temple with a broken blade. So yeah, if I had continued on that road, I know definitely I would not have been here now.
So you'd either be in prison or maybe dead?
Or maybe dead, without a doubt. But that's how I was back then. But thanks to the Navy, I'm here. I am who I am now.
Launch distance 350 feet. So we'll spin him back down towards 4 and then get him on. Next loco, expecting a short delay, looking for wind.
So far, the strongest winds that pilots have had to face have been around 40 knots. After 3 weeks, the ship is looking for even stronger winds to push the F-35s to their max. Well, they're about to get a bit more than they bargained for. Much more. A violent hurricane is hurtling towards America, and the Queen Elizabeth is right in its path. The hurricane's name is Michael, and he's a monster.
Michael is a major hurricane. Winds greater than 113 knots will be its central core, with gusts significantly higher than that.
What's that going to mean to sea state?
Seeing heights of water 8 foot is where you're starting to breach into a sea state 6, which is that significant for any maritime assets around. But locally and in the centre of it, 20 foot to 30 foot kind of heights of waves.
Michael, seen here in his entirety from outer space, is not for flying into, and not even for sailing into. The pilots need winds, but not hurricanes. Michael, at his worst, would tear an F-35 apart.
Thanks for coming out, chaps.
US warships are already evacuating the area. Jerry Kidd calls in his commanders. They need to make a decision. Run for it or hunker down.
OK, Dan, can you give us an update?
Hurricane Michael is continuing to make its way north through the Gulf of Mexico.
What is going to be the mean wind speed? Best guess where we are now.
Through Thursday, we'll see the sea state build up to a sea state 6 at least.
Right.
With 50 knots gusting up to 60 certainly.
50 to 60 knots. All right. Charles, let's jump to you now.
The American forces have ordered all their ships, which are sea states, which is
30 north. Yeah, it's here.
It's off Maple, basically.
Yeah, so we're in a sort of a rock and a hard place, aren't we?
Joining the US ships is not an option. Too far to go in the time. So, is there anywhere else to hide?
It's easy to underestimate how big this is. Look at Florida and look at the size of Michael. You see,
Gracious me.
It's huge. So
He is the Gulf of Mexico.
He is the Gulf of Mexico.
So it's,
He is shifting fast. When you say north, Charles, you're talking
As in
off...
where your pencil is now, yeah, where your pencil is now. So
Yeah, because I certainly don't want to go here.
No. So staying south of Cape Hatteras.
Yeah.
Hurricanes are notoriously unpredictable. But if the Queen Elizabeth can stay on Michael's outer edge, it's possible the pilots can exploit his winds for test flying.
Can
we fly?
It'll depend on the sea states, so that'll be getting on the limit. But
we're in the right position to get back in quickly.
We've agreed that the best compromise here is to stay roughly where we are. And then we'll see what we can do on Thursday, Wings. We may get lucky. Secure for sea, Darren, is the other thing. We haven't had sea state sticks in this ship ever. Good stuff. Job done. Right, thanks, Ben. Good plan.
Good evening, Queen Elizabeth. It's the commander speaking.
There is a hurricane brewing at the moment, Hurricane Michael. So ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do is to make sure that your mess decks and work areas are particularly well secured. That means tying things down to make sure that they don't move.
The storm clouds are gathering. The F-35s are stowed in the hangar and chained down. Meanwhile, deep in the belly of the ship, people prepare for a rough night.
And here we are, 6 Foxtrot Alpha 6.
So this is where you're going to hide?
This is where we live. This is the chill spot. You can just come down to your mess and just be yourself. Get your uniform off. It's some music on. Reggae. That's what I'm talking about. No. At the end of the day, you come on down and you've got some Barry's Hammond in the background. Don't get no better than this. You hear down, but not out.
So this little space becomes your world.
This is my space. This is mine. And everybody respects it. But this is where I find my peace and tranquility. This is all it.
Yeah. Is that your son?
Yes. Emmanuel. He's the real boss, yes.
You miss him?
Yeah, I miss him terribly. So this is it now. So I've got my music already on. I've switched my light off from here. Then I just pull my curtain. And then that's me away from everyone. Everyone knows what that means.
Good morning, it's Thursday the 11th of October. Our top story this morning, the most powerful storm in decades to hit the southeast of the United States is now heading towards Georgia after leaving a trail of destruction in Florida.
Hurricane Michael came crashing into the Florida coastline with extraordinary strength. At their height, the winds reached speeds of around 155 miles an hour, easily exceeding early expectations.
Hurricane Michael is doing his worst, even out here on his periphery. These are the roughest seas and strongest winds Queen Elizabeth has ever faced. But here is a chance to push the F-35 further than ever before. The pilots are going to attempt to harness the hurricane.
Launch distance 3500 feet. 52.6, are you happy with the gross weight? Good with weight. Copy.
Launch the jet.
Slamming. 3, 2, 1, slam. Feet up the brakes. Airborne. Quite bumpy. Flight paths holding. Jets controlling well. Very turbulent. Climbing away.
The storm winds, in addition to the forward speed of the ship, are giving the pilots a 60-knot airstream to fly into. That's a headwind of nearly 70 miles per hour.
Deck was piped out of bounds because it was too dangerous, but any weather, aircraft handler, they're always on deck.
Happy with the way the jet's performing?
Oh, fantastically, yeah. It's the jet was designed to be able to cope with these conditions. Hurricane Michael has generated the perfect test conditions for us so that we know in the worst of scenarios we've got ourselves into a really good position where we know we can get the right window of the deck and safely operate the F-35.
To hear the navigating officer speaking with a sit rep. We're now closing the RAS group at best speed to conduct replenishment serial.
If flying off a carrier in hurricane winds is risky, then what the Queen Elizabeth is about to attempt is off the scale.
Auxiliary 06, Auxiliary 06. This is Warship 08, channel 13.
Yes, good afternoon, Captain. Just calling to confirm a working channel of 7-4 and a safety channel of 1-6 for the solution. How copy?
It's called a RAS, or replenishment at sea. The most dangerous thing a warship will ever do, short of battle itself.
To all ships from the OCS, Queen Elizabeth is to become the guide steer course 190, speed 12 knots. Other units as necessary to maintain station. Pass and receive for, sir.
Roger. Navigator, Roger.
Today, the Queen Elizabeth must take on 1,000 tons of highly flammable diesel from an American tanker whilst on the move. They must close to within 30 yards of each other. Risky enough in calm conditions, but today, in hurricane-driven seas, a collision could sink both ships.
This is the largest sea state we've had. As she starts to get closer to us, the interaction between the two ships will increase. So it might actually get to a point where she's finding it difficult to maintain her station on us. We'll just have to wait and see now. So it's going to be tricky, interesting. As long as we don't get too close, we'll all be all right. Prepare the PLT for launching.
3, 2, 1.
First thing is to establish a line. That means they can now pull over an even stronger line and then a wire to suspend the fueling pipes. And all the time, both ships are fighting not to collide.
The probe that's coming in now from the supply ship is running down the big steel wire rope into the bell housing, and then we'll start receiving fuel. So it's a bit like going to a petrol station whilst going underway. If you look at the way the hoses are flapping around in the breeze, that's not small, light hoses. They're quite hefty. That gives you an indication of the wind speed.
Being able to replenish at sea in all weathers is vital for the Queen Elizabeth. It means she will be able to stay at sea indefinitely, a great strategic advantage when at war.
Yeah, we feel it really affects the hurricane just to the west of us here now. So we're about 70 miles off the coast. But it's we've got about 55 knots of wind here across the deck, making it a bit challenging. But this is great for us. This is training to meet a fight. So brilliant, just what we want. We now know the jet's really good in very high winds too, which was fantastic. So another really big tick today, thanks to Hurricane Michael over there.
For F-35 pilots going to war, it won't just be about wind and sea, but deadly enemy missiles too. And if they are shot down in hostile territory, it could be up to these men to rescue them. They are elite Royal Marines commandos, the Navy's own sea soldiers, and amongst the most feared shock troops in the world. And HMS Queen Elizabeth will never deploy without them.
All good inside. 4 knots. Roger, 4.
Today, in the 4th week of flight testing, they're going ashore on a dramatic training run that will test them as well as their specialist helicopter, the Merlin Mark IV, designed especially for the Queen Elizabeth.
The beauty about the Commando Merlin is that it's very, very quick. But not only is it quick, but it's smooth. So when we are delivering the Royal Marines to the objective, they're getting a nice smooth ride there. They're not getting shaken around, so they can arrive in good order, ready to fight. The other advantage of this aircraft, and God forbid, you know, we had to ditch the aircraft on the sea, you've got a much better chance of getting out of this helicopter than you have any other helicopter that we have in defence. It's exactly what the Royal Marines need as their chariot to take them into battle.
And Echo 711 is airborne to airport.
And the captain is flying off today as well, though just a short hop over to HMS Monmouth, the Queen Elizabeth's escort. But it's a trip down memory lane for Jerry Kidd.
So we're off to HMS Monmouth now, the frigate that's accompanied us on this deployment as our bodyguard. Very emotional for me. I drove that ship as commanding officer about 12 or 14 years ago now. And it's the first time I've been back, so we're just going to have a lunch on board and have a look around for old time's sake.
Strange. God, takes me back. Just like looking around. You know when you moved out of a house, Chris, and you go back 20 years later, you go, it's just that feeling.
Oh my word! Nothing's changed.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Nothing has changed.
Look,
Oh my word, this takes me
when
back.
I come out to shower every morning, there you are. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Even the carpet's the same.
Even the carpet's the same, yeah.
It's got that lovely feeling. And these ships have the best CO's cabin.
They're
Because
brilliant.
it's big enough, you can entertain in it.
Yeah.
God, it takes me back.
Whilst Jerry Kidd is reminiscing, 300 miles away, the Marines are nearing their target, a US military base in Virginia. But today, it's hostile territory to the British commandos. They come in low and fast for rapid deployment behind enemy lines. These are skills honed over many years in Afghanistan. The scenario is that a downed F-35 pilot tried to escape in a car that he hijacked, but he's crashed and is now seriously hurt.
No one wants to go in the vehicle! Ripsaw! Ripsaw! Yeah, Gimli in! Stretcher bearers in! Get in there, get that cut! Get another battery on that jaws of life! I want it in 30 seconds! Hurry up! Alex, sort that
The
out!
Marines have minutes to make good the rescue, but then hostile forces attack from the tree line.
Good luck! Right, lads, let's get going! Get them dressed up! Oh. Let's go! Let's go then! Hi guys, so I'm having a bit of a moment. I'm reminiscing. So this is the ops room, Chris, the nerve centre of the ship. And of course, again, look at how tight it feels in here compared to our ship. I love it. More personal. Hey guys.
Hello, sir.
How are you, Penny? How are you? Good to see you again. Yeah, you will. This is your domain.
It is.
Hi guys. Because last time I stood in here, it was 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And I always loved the ship, genuinely. Fantastic.
Do you always used to sit and fight on the right of the...
I sat here, yeah. Where do you sit now? So you sit there?
Yeah.
So Chris, for this sea of the frigate, you know, who's
got his warfare officer to the left. This is the nerve centre where you fire the ship. So we can project a lot of power with 24 jets from that ship next door, but unless the frigate is doing its job and knowing what's around the ship and keeping an eye on everything that's going on, then of course we have no protection. And of course with the resurgent Russia and probably operations in Southeast Asia, the relevance of a fighting frigate like this becomes ever more acute. Whilst the aircraft carries Queen Bee and delivers air power, without the submarines, destroyers and frigates like HMS Monmouth, she is denuded of her ability to go where she needs to go, because you have to take your bodyguards with you, normally to bash the door down and force your way into a theatre of operations, perhaps against an enemy force that's firing back at you. But it's not just one ship, it's a submarine as well, it's aircrew, aircraft, cyber, the whole works. And very few countries can do it properly. And we're going to be back in that game very, very soon, so we should be very proud.
Stop moving forward, let's go!
The Marines have fought off the initial enemy attack and now have the injured pilot with them. In the real event, they would destroy anything left of the F-35 to deny its secrets to the enemy.
Look at that. You start seeing the future. So you can imagine 24 F-35 wrapped around the stern. She'll look pretty good. It's the first time I've seen it from this angle. She's a big old lump, isn't she?
The Marines are ready to extract. The circling Merlins swoop down. The stretcher party is first to one of the Merlins. The other commandos follow, but not before taking prisoners. This marks the end of today's exercise, but it shows that the deployment has a lot of moving parts, on and off the ship. But the main focus is still the F-35. Thanks to Hurricane Michael, the flight tests are well ahead of schedule, with over 100 launches and landings completed. But there are at least 100 more to come that will place even greater demands on jets and pilots.
It's been a long journey and it's been hard, really hard. But, you know, if things come easy, they're probably not worth it. I don't want to focus on the enormity of the trials because I still have to fly that jet safely. There's no celebration until the event is complete.
Things are going well, but as they say in the Navy, every day that something does not break is just a day closer to the day something does break. Next time, engineers wrestle with a dangerously overheating main engine. F-35s arm up with missiles for the first time. And HMS Queen Elizabeth arrives in New York in spectacular fashion.
Britain's Biggest Warship continues here on BBC Two at the same time next Sunday. Next tonight, the Americas with Simon Reeve.